Looks like we are live. Welcome, everyone, to another thrilling week here inside the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. I am John Lavenia at your service. As always, I see some of my favorite people here tuning in live with us. Edward, Virginia. Hello. Sharon, Lindsay, Julia, Gail. Hello. And John Apogee is here. It's always good to see him. And all of you, as we get together each day for many thrills and excitements. Hey, Suzanne from Switzerland. We've got a few things going on here today. One thing you will notice is that we're going to have more email coming out, just like reminders and announcements and things like that. One of our social media managing type people that does social media managing type stuff is going to be managing our social media more. So expect that, including Facebook and email and what have you. Because clearly I'm not going to do it. Although I did just post something to the Facebook group just before we went live. And the thing that we'll be getting reminders about is all the stuff that we do here each day. Like right now, we're in our general session. We do have our hospitality suite, which is open all the time. And that is for your use, whatever you want to do. We do have at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time today. We do have our e-commerce work group with Emma and Neil. That has been a big hit for all of our e-commerce friends who do e-commerce stuff and have questions about e-commerce. So tune in to that at 3 p.m. Eastern, +5 for our friends across the pond in the UK. And of course, middle of the night for our friends on the other side of the planet. Now at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, we are doing our book study. We are covering, actually by your, not only requests, but by your demands. We are covering Integrity is Everything by me. And we are on week 3 of that book. So we did the first 2 chapters, then the second 2 chapters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that means 5 and 6 tonight. So we're going to do chapters 5 and 6, have those read and tune in and your thoughts, questions, ask whatever you want of the author himself, because he will be there. So that's fun. Also, that is open to the public. So what we've done, just like we broadcast our general sessions, which we're doing right now, like we broadcast those live on YouTube, we do something special on Monday nights as of 2 weeks ago. And that is we've invited other non-members to come and tune in. If they want to tune into that conversation, like live on Zoom and Q&A and discuss, books, I think that's a pretty profound thing. So thank you all for opening that up and allowing people. Now, of course, if they're seeing this, or if you're seeing this on YouTube right now and you're like, oh my goodness, that's the only thing I get access to. Yeah, well, you can be a member. All of this is brought to you by the paying members of the Mastermind group, which is here right now. And you're seeing them. Well, you're not seeing them on your screen because I'm talking. But yeah, jlsuccessmastermind.com, and you can get access to everything, including that e-commerce work group and our hospitality suites and everything else. That being said, I do have an idea, believe it or not. I have an idea that came to me. Guess where it came to me? In the gym. You're right. I was in the gym and I decided to turn on a little audio book. Actually, it was a lecture concerning working with various laws, like universal laws. And I thought it was interesting that the idea of law has come up a few times. Well, actually, if you've been around the personal development, self-help, motivation, and all that, if you've been around that world at all, you've certainly heard people talk about laws of this and laws of that. Law of attraction is a popular one ever since The Secret came out. And I've done a couple events with a guy named Michael Logier, who wrote the book, The Law of Attraction. Good orator. I haven't talked to him in probably 15 years. I should probably see how he's doing. But there's lots of laws that people like to talk about, and some of which are actual laws, and some of which are, we use the law just like we use the word The Secret to sell stuff, because you need the secrets, you need to learn the laws. But the idea of working with the law has come up a few times. In fact, that's a spectacular book. Maybe that should be next on our reading list, Working with the Law by Raymond Hollywell. But I've heard it come out of my mouth a few times over the last couple of weeks that we want to work with the law and that we can't break the law. We can only break ourselves against the law. So if it's a true law, that holds water, right? That you can't break it. That's how you know it's a law. It can't be broken. Okay, good. Like gravity. There you go. So as long as you're doing the planet Earth thing, or any planet for that matter, which which has enough mass to hold things to it and hold itself together, then you get to deal with that law. Try breaking it. I mean, you can overpower it with rocket ships and airplanes and whatever, but the law still exists. It's still there. That being said, it'd be good to work with the law, to go with the flow, so to speak, which sounds almost too easy. Go with the flow. Does that mean I just sit around and play video games, or watch kitten videos on YouTube? Is that going with the flow? Because I believe we can have an easy flowing experience. In fact, I know we can, while at the same time getting a whole lot done and being very on purpose. How do we do that? We do that by working with various laws. So what I was thinking about, this is a brilliant idea, if I don't say so myself. What I thought about is introducing sort of a theme for the week, and let it be a law that I've recently studied. So let's go ahead and do that. And then whoever else hosts these general sessions can take this up. So we got Adrian and Ivier and Glenn and Shannon and Mark, right, who host general sessions throughout the week. You can keep this train moving or not, your choice. I'm not laying down the law. You just do what you want. Whatever is relevant, whatever is workable for people. But I was reminded of one particular law today, which is the law of polarity. Anybody ever heard of this? The law of polarity. So law of polarity loosely states that for every up, you have a down. For every hot, you have a cold. Inside, outside. Like you couldn't be inside your room if there wasn't an outside of the room. You couldn't have one side of the coin if you didn't have the other side of the coin, right? And you can look all around, like in every aspect of life, and you can see this law work out. Another example would be, Virginia, how far is it from Phoenix to Denver? Let's say, I don't know, 500 miles. I don't know, something like that. So if it's 500 miles to Phoenix to Denver, then it's 500 miles from Denver to Phoenix. It's equal and opposite. There's a polarity there, right? So what the hell does this have to do with me reaching my goals or being successful in life or as a business person or whatever? Thanks for asking. Here's what this has to do with you. So you've got situations in your life which may or may not be congenial or pleasing or preferential based on wherever you're at in your life and whatever you want. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the reminder, John, that I've got issues. Okay, good. So do I. Let me tell you about an issue I had. I had an issue. This was going back 20 something years. And the issue was that I had just ended up in the hospital after having somehow precipitated a stress-induced colon infection, which caused me to actually go unconscious and end up in the hospital, where my wife said she was either calling an ambulance because I was passing out on the couch, or that I could just get in the car and comply. So I complied. And while in the hospital, they drew a little bit of blood. I was out like a light. They told my wife that I would be dead in 5 years. This is at age 32. If I kept going like this, meaning debauchery and riotous living? No, going like this, meaning working 80 hours a week to pay my bills almost on time in a job where I was so unappreciated, effective, among the best at what I do, but under control, as is the corporate agenda control. So, and rightfully so, right? I mean, there's an agenda there. And if you want to subscribe to it, nobody held a gun to your head. You're in the corporation now and you're a cog in the wheel. Unable, here's the stress part, unable to reach my goals. Barking up the wrong tree for years in the wrong vehicle, because you don't get paid what you're worth at a job. You get paid what the job is worth, right? But it was secure. I mean, it was paying me a 6-figure income, better than the average Joe. See, these are all great justifiers. But the truth remained that it was killing me. It was killing me in my early 30s. And so after that experience, I had to look at what I was not willing to look at prior. I had to confront what I thought was unconfrontable, and that is that I could actually be in the wrong vehicle. I had given so much energy and I had gotten so good at doing this action. This for those who don't know what the last job I ever had, I was the internet sales director at a car dealership. I had they had advertising going out, and here's the sales of the week, and come on into the dealership and call the toll-free number and hit the website, right? And so anybody who hits the website gets routed to me, and I ran a phone room, and our function was to get people off the internet, on the phone, and then off the phone and into the showroom. That was the primary function. That may sound too simple to some of you who don't know what that business is like. And I know the car industry has evolved a lot in 20 something years since the last time I was in it. But I was really, really good at it. Really good. And so what am I going to do? Abandon this? Like, I don't know anything else. In fact, the reason I even ended up in that world was because I had failed in prior businesses. I had done the franchise, which was also killing me. I wound up folding that, selling out. I had done the network marketing, right? The home business, friends, family, and neighbors. I had done that, ended up 70 grand in debt, made 12,000 my best year. So maybe I'm just not cut out for this, right? I can't keep going like this, but it seems like I have to keep going like this. I can't, but I have to. I can't, but I have to. How's that sound for a trap? Yeah, that'll end you up in the hospital with a stress-induced colon infection. So I had to take a look, and I had to confront the reality that, you know what, for all of the crap that I ostensibly see myself in, there's got to be a door opening, right? A door closes, a door opens, right? And in fact, if I look at how crappy the situation is, then based on the law of polarity, well, what if we just reverse that? I mean, if, like we talked about Phoenix to Denver, right? What if you just reversed, on the map, right? And let's say you're this close to Phoenix, which means you're that far from Denver. Okay. So what if you just reversed it? Well, then you're that far from Phoenix and that close to Denver. So if there's something wrong with it, there's got to be something right with it, based on the law of polarity. And again, you can't break the law. That it just is. All of my opinions about it and all of my best thinking got me what? Clinging on to the thing which was killing me. So I had to abandon some of my best thinking, which was limited, and do what wise people do. Here's what wise people do. They look at both sides of the coin. They say, oh, look at this pile of crap. Well, that means there's something really good coming out of this, because it can't be this bad and not have something amazingly good on the other side of it. You get that? So if something's like right in the middle, like 50-50, meh, right? Indifferent, whatever. Okay, whatever. And we can call that stasis, right? We can call that, a workable routine, right? That's good. That's good. Can keep moving in the directions that you like to move and whatever. But when the rubber band is stretched, like my rubber band was stretched, it's either going to snap or it's going to go in the other, we got to bounce. We either got to get off of our position and go to the new position, or I suppose succumb and the rubber band snaps and that's it. And my rubber band was about to snap. So I looked at what's the other thing that's pulling in the other direction. If I'm all the way over here and there's a whole bunch of stress and pressure on me, what's the thing that's pulling me in the other direction? And it was actually what I was meant to be doing. The more purposeful things, using the skills that I had developed and was kind of clinging to the wrong vehicle with, using those skills in a completely different way. By the way, what kind of skills do you think it takes to run an internet, online business call room and all this kind of stuff? What is the number one skill do you think I developed? Could you guess? Communication. That's it. Well, that certainly applies in other areas of life. Why the hell are you married to this vehicle? So I got it. Don't marry the vehicle. Okay. And this is really bad. Okay. And that's for me. For other people, it might be their bliss, their ultimate whatever. Okay, fine. Fine. I'm just saying for me. For me. I couldn't reach my goals in that vehicle. I couldn't fulfill my purpose to the degree that I can out of that vehicle. And yet the so-called security of, here's a six-figure paycheck, kept me bound, or my attachment to it kept me bound. I've since made a lot more than that. I've since made more than that in a month. But, to turn my annual income into a monthly income, I could not remain in that vehicle, fixated on everything that I can't do. And that drives me crazy. And all of us as entrepreneurs, we've all got that entrepreneurial streak, right? How do you like being told what you can't do? Right. Right. There it is. There it is right there. Well, law of polarity. Well, then what can I do? If there's a can't, well, there has to be a can. If there's a deficit, then there has to be a surplus. Can we get wise about this and reverse that polarity and just kind of look at it from a different angle? Like, what if I wasn't attached to all this? What if I wasn't somehow convinced by whatever means that this is what I had to be doing? Or this is who I had to be? So yeah, one door closes, another opens. And when I finally mentally divorced myself from attachment to the negative side of that coin, my goodness, did my production just explode. Took a few months to rebalance those scales, right? To get out of my own way. And I had to get bold about this too, because I mean, with what did Napoleon Hill say? With every crisis comes the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. There's the law of polarity. There it is right there. He added the little greater on top of it, just because when you've got momentum, it gets to be greater, but it is actually equal and opposite. But because of you, it can be greater. All right. So just consider that. The law of polarity is law. So here's the crap. Here's the goodness. Now all I got to do is align myself on the other side of that already existing reality, already existing. Just not real for me yet, in my experience. And so, as some of you know, the rest of the story, I got into business. It actually, if you want to talk about law of attraction, it kind of found me. And within 3 months, after missing my goal for years, I hit my goal, which was to double my income, quit the job, buy a new car, right? 3 months. Now, here's the other part of this. While I was building up my momentum in this new endeavor, I still had to work the job to keep the lights on, right? It's called, responsibility and doing what you need to do. But I had mentally divorced myself from that job, mentally divorced myself, while the body kept showing up and doing what I had to do to fulfill my commitments and receive a paycheck. I was no longer attached to it mentally, emotionally. I was gone. I was gone. And I think some people kind of started to know it, just because, anyone here who's ever put in extra hours, where you're really diligent, and that's a great word, diligent, right? Comes from the Latin root word diligere, which means to take delight in, right? So you're diligent, right? You're 100% on this. I was no longer diligent. Now I had such practice and such expertise that I could probably do this in my sleep. And what a mental relief that was. And then here I am engaging in this other area diligently, right? So I'm kind of straddling the fence. Again, polarity, because there's also the mental safety net, right? Because remember why I was in that job. I was in the job to pay my bills. Okay. So there was the mental safety net of knowing, well, you know what? I don't need to reach my goals in this job, because, I'm doing this other thing now, and that's fine. But at the same time, I had the mental safety net of, well, I don't need to make all this money in this other business that I just started, because I've got the job and that's paying the bill. So I pit one against the other, right? One was like the safety net for the other. And that allowed me a bit of fluidity, a bit of non-attachment. I could be mobile now and go between tasks more in a present time fashion. I wouldn't dare claim that I was actually in present time, but I was a lot more in present time than I had been when my attention was fixated on all that I can't do, but have to do. Polarity. That one law, which I hardly ever give attention to, keeps showing up in my life again and again. So here's the question for everyone here. I know this is kind of an intense, Gail, you got to leave. I'll see you soon, Gail. Kind of an intense, thing to consider right at the outset of the week, but why not? Why not? We're showing up. Let's have some considerations about this, right? So where is it in your life that you could sort of flip the script and you could see, wow, here's an unsavory or deficit condition or whatever based on your assessment, non-optimal. Great. What's the opposite of that? And it may not be obvious, but if you're wise, you'll find it. Here's what I can't do. Well, here's what I can do. Here's what I've convinced myself that I can have. Well, here's what I can have. And again, I'll quote Napoleon Hill, where he said, an educated person is not one with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. It is one who has so developed themselves that they can acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. Napoleon Hill. Okay, so you can acquire whatever you want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others, assuming you're wise, you're educated. Okay, so what can you do? What can you do about it? I know that's a question that comes up a lot. What can I do about it? How can I be cause? What part of this can I be responsible for? Great. Let's just now do that with a little bit of spice on top called the law of polarity, because we know there's another side of that coin. And if you can disprove that law, be my guest. Nobody's been able to do that for thousands of years. Maybe you could be the first. Probably not. So that's what's coming up for me today. All that from one line, law of polarity and how it works in our lives. Who's got some thoughts about this? I'd love to hear them. I know Gail just had to leave. She had a cameo appearance here with us today, but I'd love to hear any evidence or examples or like how's this shown up in your life, or any postulates about here's how I could make this show up in my life, or actually work with the law, right? Because I've been kind of barking up the wrong tree, or because whatever the story is. Please come on out and let's hear from you. All right, I see Ingrid. Hi, Ingrid. How are you?
Hi there.
Hey.
It's weird. I have never actually considered that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't understand it. Can you explain it again?
Sure. So law of polarity states that for everything that exists, there's an opposite to it. So
Black
good,
and
bad,
white,
right, wrong, up, down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So inside your house, outside your house, right? You couldn't be inside if there wasn't an outside. You couldn't be happy if you didn't know what sadness was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Polarity. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep. Makes sense like that.
Okay.
I guess I've just yeah. So
Yeah, there it is. All right, go ahead and meditate on that for 20 years and see what you come up with.
Yeah, I think so, because I don't know now. Okay, bye. Thanks.
Yeah. I've stumped Ingrid. Oh my goodness. Well, Ingrid, I'll tell you what. Oh, she muted herself. Okay. I love you, Ingrid. Really, really, I love you. Okay. But look, you wouldn't know what good violin playing was if you didn't know what crappy violin playing was, right? So
Right.
yeah, and Ingrid's a professional violinist, right? So she's got some perspective on that, right? And Ingrid, also, you've got like, here's $100,000 violin, which you didn't break any records, by the way, buying $100,000 violin. There's $1 million violins, I know. Okay. But in my world, okay, being able to perceive the difference between $100,000 violin and $1 million violin, or a $500 violin, let's say, in the other direction, right? There's distinctions there that you could see and you can perceive, right? Because you're an expert in that area. You're wise in that area.
Hmm.
Wise meaning applied knowledge. People say knowledge is power. No, applied knowledge is power. That's wisdom. Okay. So you're wise in the ways of violins. And so you can appreciate and perceive things that others can't. So I don't know if that helps, but yeah, you wouldn't know what crappy violin was if you didn't have good violin.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. All right. So thank you, Ingrid. Julia's quoting Caliga Brand. Wow. Awesome. There's an oldie but goodie right there. All right. Let's see. We've got Virginia Pipitone and then Sharon. Hey, Virginia Pipitone.
Unmute, take my hand down. Okay, can you hear me now? I
can
got
hear
my
you now.
hand down. Super. So I think it was Friday maybe that we discussed Wallace Wattles and the science of getting rich, that you talked about that again. And we asked about the two things in there, the definitive of purpose. So I actually printed the 66 pages and reread it this weekend and highlighted a bunch of things. And he does talk in there about the polarity, you know, and not to concentrate on that as far as the negatives. Don't even fill yourself with the opposite of it. Just continue focusing on the I'm flipping through it trying to quote him, but I'm not finding anything. But hold with faith and purpose the vision of yourself in the better environment, but act upon your present environment with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your mind. Talks about things not to do. You know, don't wait for your environment to change. Don't bother with yesterday's work. Don't try to do tomorrow's work. Put your whole mind into your present action. And so I just needed a reminder of doing things in a certain way, which is really hard when you're looking at these writers from over 100 years ago, and their way of describing things is so much different than how we write now and how we interpret. So, but basically in here, he was talking about, don't let your mind think about those things that don't serve you, those opposites, you know, because you are going to attract those into your life. So just think about those things that I'm just going to call positives that are going to bring you into your purpose. You know, give your attention wholly to riches, ignore poverty. You know, if you lack physical health, then, you know, give your attention to that you are getting better in that arena and not, oh, woe is me, this is happening. So I just reminded me, and I'm very glad you brought that back up, because it is definitely something to focus on a daily basis.
Thank you, Virginia. And look,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what awesome pinoli cookies are if I never had terrible pinoli cookies.
I guess so. Yeah.
I actually had, there's a place called Touch of Italy in Lewis, Delaware, where I recently was, as I think everyone knows. And awesome pinoli cookies. But they make the cannolis kind of small. You notice the cannolis seem to be getting smaller, and sfogliatelle a bit smaller.
I guess that's so they don't have to charge more. They just give you less.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, they had great pinoli cookies. Almost as good as yours, Virginia. All right. Sharon. Hey, Sharon.
Hey guys, hope everyone's well.
Yes.
Yeah, John, when you speak, often my mind just goes in so many different directions, but that's not normal, not unusual. The first thing you said about polarity, I don't know if you said this or if my mind kind of brought it up, degrees of polarity. And I kind of just popped into Google and looked up degrees of polarity. And of course, it went to a scientific explanation of atoms and the push and pull and attraction and force and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really surprised at Ingrid, because music is so much about not degrees of polarity, but just their frequencies and things that we deal with in music. So Ingrid, we need to have a conversation, maybe offline. If I had not joined this group a year ago, I would not have been pushed in this direction of e-commerce. I would have been in my same, classroom, kind of doing the same thing every day. But it just excited those atoms inside me to get up and do something different, because I just feel my life going in a different direction. I want it to go in a different direction, whether it's retirement or not. I want something different right now. And we all get to those points at different points in our lives, depending on your family or your social situation or your education or your profession. We just get pushed in a direction, and we can fight that or we can go with it. And you've got to pay attention to that polarity and where you're being pushed or pulled, positive or negative in that connotation, and figure out which way you want to go. Do you want to go upstream or flow downstream with what your intuition is telling you? And my intuition is telling me do something different. So I'm looking for what that channel is, where that frequency is. And it's just been crazy fun to be on this ride with everyone for the last year or so. Crazy, scary at the same time. Just a lot of unknowns. But even the unknown part to me is fun. I enjoy roller coasters. So I'm okay with that up and down momentum that comes sometimes. But that's what polarity brought for me today.
Wow. Thank you, Sharon. And I'm excited to see you blossom into these new areas, right? I think there's so much that we haven't fulfilled yet, right? And you've got those possibilities. You don't know all the nuance of how to fulfill them, but you keep showing up and more keeps getting revealed. Anyway, it's so great to be associated with you. So glad you're here. All right, we got Ingrid back. All right, so now Ingrid's got more thoughts on something. Hi, Ingrid.
First of all, Sharon, yeah, sure, let's talk, because for some reason I'm having a real blank wall about this. I don't know why. Partly I feel like I kind of do what I think I need to do, and I've never thought that I wouldn't do it. I just try and figure out how to make myself into more pieces of more of the things I want to do. Probably that's not ideal, but my point was I was starting to understand about the polarity a little bit in this weird sense. So I had
Where's your microphone, Ingrid?
on my phone.
There it is. I hear you now. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I hold my phone differently. Maybe I was clogging it.
It was like, okay, good. I got you now.
Oh, that part was all really, really golden. Too bad you missed it. So I'm understanding, I think, a little bit now. Like I remember I had a boyfriend for 7 years who is a horn player, and he was like the first horn player I ever really heard, and he happens to be like one of the world's best horn players, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought that he, the horn sounded good. The horn was good. He played it well and sounded good. And it's after hearing other horn players and getting kind of understanding that they weren't really sucky. It was just that he was exceptional, but that he was the first person I ever heard play. So I just took that as the norm. So that would be a case of polarity, right?
Sure.
That there would be like one level and then there's another level.
That would be actually the law of relativity, but yeah, but that's okay. I mean, if you're getting mileage out of it, how does that serve you though? Like in present time, like what can you do with that, what you just observed?
Well, now I'm starting to think as I was listening to this that oftentimes I guess I don't understand what is good or what is bad. um, I'm going to say good or bad as the level of comparison in say music or something. What is good playing, what is bad playing, because I don't have a comparison to it. So I'm just thinking, oh, this is going better, or I'm talking about me. I'm playing well. This is not going well. I can't do this right. And this is going pretty good now. And then it's going to be someone else that's going to point out to me that it's actually great or it still sucks, because they have more comparative ability, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Sure.
I'm having trouble with this idea.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up. Yeah,
Sorry.
maybe you and Sharon can bat this around, but definitely law of
Yeah,
relativity.
it's like totally.
Yeah.
Just a quick comment. Ingrid, think about intonation, the frequency of the tuning note A.
Yeah.
Or we can take it offline if you want.
Okay. Well, yeah, relativity is another one, and maybe we can bring that up next. But just here it is for Ingrid and for everyone. If we've got our attention fixated on what's wrong about something, there has to be something right about it. Has to be, right? I mean, I could look at all kinds of issues in the world, in life, and whatever, and I could say, man, that sucks. Okay, great. Where's the opportunity? Right? How can I turn that around? What part of this can I do something about? Could I be responsible for? Could I cause something to occur? Right? Here is COVID. All right. So here you go, Ingrid and everyone. Here's COVID. Okay. So based on the law of polarity, what's right about it? What's right about it? Oh my goodness. Total explosion with online business. And here we are. Right? What an opportunity. Some of us had our best years ever last year.
Bingo.
You know, same data though. Same data. Here's COVID. All right. So what are we focusing on with this? Does that help? That's Ingrid. I heard you and now I don't hear you.
Yeah, I said bingo. Yeah, okay, I get it. So we're back to is that sort of like nothing except the person who's doing the interpreting?
It's just observing. It's like if I took a coin out and I just stared at heads versus tails, and I just kept staring at heads, and my whole reality was heads, right? And I don't like heads, damn it, I don't like heads. Look at the friggin' heads. Can I just look at the other side of the coin, right? And have another opportunity, have another reality about that coin, right? So that's what I'm talking about today. It's not so much, it's not so much relative. It's just fact that there is a polar opposite. If something sucks, there's something great. If something's mediocre, well, something's slightly good, right? And so that's where we could see. I think it was Sharon who said she looked up, degrees of polarity, right? So not to get too heady with all this. I guess the punchline to all this is the same thing that we keep coming back to again and again, which is no matter what the situation is that you're dealing with, is there a different way you can deal with it? Is there some other way you can be responsible for it? Is there something you can cause that perhaps you haven't looked at? Because there's an opportunity there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ingrid, one of my favorite people in the world and the best violinist I've ever met in my life. There's that. Boom. Janet, what do you think about all this, Janet? You've got a profundity for us?
Oh, I hope so. So first I have a question though. Polarity and duality. Same, different?
Well, duality is a concept. Polarity is a law. So I would say you're on the same path, but yeah, I'm thinking slightly more absolute than just duality.
Okay. Well, I have to say that I have most of my life not lived where everyone else does. People accept things to be true. Oh, it's always been that way. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. You have choices. Be alive. Think about it. So a lot of that I rejected long ago. So I think I've been there for a long time. But I really love that you're talking about this, John, because it's really bringing up, it's kind of opening that up more. And oh, I didn't think about it that way. I didn't see it that way. Partly because it's normal to me to see things more open and different. But the way you've opened it up. First of all, thank you for telling us about how you dealt with it. In other words, you saw that, well, your body told you this is enough, and you had to listen. And thank you to Shannon for giving you the choice, ambulance or the car, but you're going. But that you were wise enough to say, okay, this isn't working. I think once again you were forced into something, but you saw it and you said, okay, well, there has to be something else. Thank you for telling us about your journey of really thinking about yourself and how things work, how things are for you as a person, for you, and then how you were able to put the two in there. Of course, you're working extra hard at that point. You're working your job and you're working your mind and what can I do and where are my talents? What have I done? And then your transition, that's very helpful to all of us to hear that. Um, so number one, thank you for that part of the insight. Uh, and it's true, we have to think about where are my talents. That's what I'm trying to do for, that's no, not trying. That's what I am doing for myself is what am I doing and what skills do I have and I'm building to apply to something else, looking at another way. But in terms of polarity, yeah, so not, looking at the other side, look at the bright side of life, but look at what is not working and say, so what can be working? What
Mhm.
is the polar opposite to this? I think it's really great to be able to say, if there's this, then there must be a that.
Mhm.
What is that? How can I use it? Does it fit for me? And to be able just to open up our own perceptions, to
Mhm.
say that this is there's another way, there's the opposite way. How will that serve me? How will it help me serve others? And I think that's so good just to think about so that you can act on it. Thinking about it, of course, is a first step, but acting on it is the real step, the whole thing. And I really thank you for giving me something to ponder with new insight or a new scope, a wider scope of thinking about it. So
Mhm.
that's really good because even if I think, well, I don't accept everything and I have to find out for myself, it does give me a way to okay, what is it that I'm seeing? What am I seeing as true? What's the opposite of that? And where's the gold pieces in that opposite thinking? How
Mm.
do I find that? So thank you so much. I don't know if there's any profundity in there. Ooh, get that
Profundity,
word
yes.
straight.
Thank you, Janet. You just
But
brought
thank you.
something up for me that's kind of a sticking point because I've got my position on things. I've got things that I think I know, and there are people, believe it or not, that disagree. And so what I attempt to do is understand how could they disagree. So if there's a right and a wrong, well, let's see, maybe I could be wrong. Okay. And so I mean, how else do we evolve and learn? I've never learned anything by being right. So what's
Mhm.
your perspective on that? Right. Um, Actually, that's again back to the idea of communication, which seems to be a somewhat lost art to many of these modern Earth dwellers. But the ability to listen is included with communication, and so I tend to listen. Thank you, Janet. That is profound.
Yes.
So glad you're here.
Thank you, John. Thank
All
you.
right, and you know who else is profound? Cyril. Cyril is one of the most profound people.
I thank you for that. Occasionally, I do come up with something a bit more profound. Actually, it dawned on me something that I found really interesting. I'm just trying to get the name of the writer, but I was reading a book that I found most interesting on by a writer who's been in the marketing industry for the top of the marketing industry for years. And in one of his notes in a book, he's talking about how the fact that when it comes to human nature, sometimes logic doesn't cut it. In fact, often logic doesn't cut it, and it's the illogical that actually works better than the logical. But he was one of but you just reminded me of a statement that he says that works in marketing and is quite useful, and that is the opposite of a good idea is not a bad idea. It is often a good idea, because in marketing, the opposite of a good idea is another point of view that can work, that isn't necessarily, and that's not necessarily logic in the way we look at language, but it is logical in the way we look at people, in the fact that they are quirky, they are different, they have different points of view, and they come up with creative ideas. And the opposite of a really creative idea is usually another creative idea.
There you go. Well, thank you, Cyril. Glad you're here. If you could figure out, recall who that author was, I'd be interested.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my I'm trying to get I've got my book list to open up, but it's
Okay.
not opening up. I'm gonna have to redo it, but I'll
No
come back
worries.
with you when it because I know it's on there. When I can
Okay.
get the
Well, we
blasted
can-
thing to open up properly.
Yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow. You can remind
Yeah,
us.
probably, possibly, but hopefully not.
All right. Very good. All right, Cyril. Thank you, my friend. Anybody else who wants to come on out before we wrap up for the day and we notice all the polar opposites in our life as we go throughout our day? All right. Again, we do have our 3 p.m. Eastern time. We do have our e-commerce work group. Hospitality Suite will be open until then. And then I'll be back with everyone here tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern for chapters 5 and 6 of Integrity is Everything, written by me. So I will see you all again real soon.
I've just found.
Yes,
if you want to
Cyril,
know
who is it?
the guy who wrote the book, the book is called Alchemy, which is an amazing book from my point of view, and the writer is Rory Sutherland.
Ah, okay. I've not read that.
It was an amazing because he definitely thinks outside the box, and he has a lot of opinionated ideas, but they're really interesting. Anyway, worth a read.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All right, my friends, let's wrap up with that. And I will look forward to seeing you all this evening, those who are going to be there live. And in the meantime, let's make it a great day. You absolutely deserve it. See you soon. Bye for now.